Hello! As you can see, I've been riding Honda's long-awaited Africa Twin at the launch in South Africa. Now, since the specs were announced, some readers have dismissed it as too heavy and bulky to be capable off-road. But it doesn't seem that big when you see it. It may weigh about the same as a base model R1200 GS at 232 kilograms fuel to the BMW's 230, but it feels more like sitting on a G650 GS. At 5'9", I'm usually on tiptoes on a big adventure bike, but on this I could almost get both feet flat on the ground. The seat was 870mm and it's adjustable to 850, and there are optional tall and low seats that take those figures up or down by 30mm. It feels narrow, something that's allowed by the parallel twin engine configuration where the original Africa Twins were V-twins. At 94 horsepower, it's no KTM Super Adventure, it's not super fast, but the power is super accessible thanks to a broad and linear delivery across the range. Now, Honda didn't seem very happy about me saying this in my written review, but it reminded me of the predictable delivery of the NC750 range, albeit with 42 more horses and a higher red line at about 8,000 instead of 6,000. It's significant that it makes 94 horsepower because it means it should be possible to restrict it for A2 licence holders. In the first part of the launch ride, on twisty tarmac, it was tractable enough to stay in a high gear through bends and then accelerate fairly hard to the next one without changing. At one point, the Dunlop Trailmax Dual Sport tyres momentarily threatened to lose traction, I think at both ends, but probably led by the 21-inch front. It was one of those moments that makes you lift the bike up a bit and think, did it just do that? The front brake, which is the same as the CRF1000L rallies using radial 4-pot Nissan calipers, is sharp, but the front tyres sometimes struggle for grip under hard braking too. ABS comes as standard, along with 3-level traction control, and both can be deactivated, the ABS at the rear wheel only. It's really straightforward. One button changes the traction control level and you can do it on the fly without closing the throttle. Hold it for 3 seconds and traction control is off. There's also a DCT version of the Africa Twin using Honda's automatic dual clutch transmission, the same system that's available on the NC750 range and VFR 1200. The latest generation of DCT has 3 sport modes and 1 drive mode. It's still not quite perfect. The highest sport mode held onto low gears for too long for me, shut off, and the engine braking provided by mid-range is denied because you're still at the top end of the range. The middle or lower S mode seemed better, but sometimes still chose the wrong gear. Overtaking, I'd open the throttle wide and it would immediately shift down to give me the drive I requested, and then after overtaking I might back off, but it would still hold on to the low gear. So I finished the road ride unsure of the benefit of DCT on the Africa Twin, but I changed my mind after going off-road on day 2 of the launch. Honda had said the DCT system could detect when the bike was going up or downhill and choose the right gear. I couldn't quite believe it would, but it did. In the least aggressive of the 3 sport modes, on an uphill gradient, the system made the necessary shifts to keep me in drive and momentum. I only felt the need to shift myself once or twice for a bit more acceleration approaching a steeper section. When you do want to make a gear selection, the button shifters on the left bar make it improbably easy. The upshift button is on the front of the bar and the downshift button is on the back, so your thumb and forefinger fall on them naturally when you're standing on the pegs. It would be great for the less experienced off-road. On sandy trails, level 1 traction control let the rear drift a bit, and again I let the DCT do most of the gear changes. With less attention occupied by gear selection, there's more free to focus on other demands, like staying on the gas as the front and back wheels take different routes through deep sand. Because DCT is designed to make gear shifts as seamless as possible, there's also a G mode which makes them more abrupt to provide more instant traction on dirt. Press a button on the dash with a G on it and it's on. I found the manual version confidence inspiring and easy for a big bike off-road too. The narrow profile gives you space to move around to shift your weight forward while standing on the pegs. As I said earlier, it feels more like a middleweight than a really big adventure bike. But 94 horsepower is not middleweight power. Rapid acceleration is only ever a few RPM away. It does have the capacity of a big adventure bike to limit the impression of speed off-road. The smoothness of the engine, the weight of the machine and the competence of the suspension mean you can find yourself at 60 miles an hour before you know it. Honda called the concept version a true adventure prototype. I'm going to call this production version a real adventure bike. A 232 kilogram machine that really can go anywhere, on tarmac, with luggage and a pillion, or on dusty South African trails. A big bike that's actually useful off-road, and not just in the hands of an advanced off-road rider, but for the more ordinary of us as well. At 10,499 or 11,299 with DCT, it's competitively priced too. The R1200 GS starts at 12,100.